This is the Sensational Stream, episode 9, Fool Me Twice. Today we are doing something new with our pre-stream show. If you're watching now, you can see the new splash screen and everything, and it says the pre-stream show, Why Sin Thinks Bungie Sucks and Destiny is a Cash Grab, which we'll get to that in a moment. Um, Sadell will be joining us shortly. We have Tater here tonight. Um, just a couple of things here. I set up a YouTube channel. Um, Not entirely sure what we're going to do with it, but either clips, highlights, or anything like that. I might actually do the sensational radio, play some of the music from previous episodes, or as we're actually streaming the game footage, we could stream the music separately. So I don't know. But how's Tater today?
Still haven't loaded into the division. My memory is maxed out. The beauty of having two monitors now is I can watch my computer actively just fall apart while it tries to do things.
Yeah. So hopefully
We'll
I'm
see.
going to have less trouble out of mine because we actually have some cool air in this room. We're not running 20 fans at the edge of the door to the room.
Man, it's hot up here today. Which I mean, it's hot here, isn't hot like it is in the south, but it's pretty toasty. My window unit pretty much hasn't turned off, even though it's on automatic. So
Yeah, right now it's 86 and it got up to 93. So
yeah, it's about like that today. It's toasty.
yeah, for the pre-stream show, I actually thought about setting up the webcam, but like the room's a fucking mess because it looked like one of those.
If I set up a webcam, everyone would be able to see all my like waifu figures. I can't have that. I gotta get a green screen first.
Well, I've got a door pulled off. I got boxes, all kinds of shit, and an old air conditioner just sitting behind me. So not that pretty. And plus, I need to get one of those NASCAR gaming chairs.
Oh yeah, got to.
But I'm gonna like
$500.
do like a homemade one just to like throw it in the face of everybody that spent like $500 on the damn chair.
My boss had he still has it. He just moved it from work. He had like an actual racing seat just sitting there for like ever. And I thought about just being like, hey, can I just take this and stick wheels on it so I can use it as a chair?
I did used to have an old barber's chair. Like we were setting up a DR site for our office, and we rented some space, and they said, look, you're going to have to fix it up, take whatever is in there, whatever. And there, it used to be, I guess, a barber. And they had those big metal chairs, you know, old school.
Yeah, those are comfortable though. Old dentist chairs and old like barber chairs like that are always like, I don't think it gets more relaxing than that.
Yeah. If it had wheels, I probably would be using it, but I'd have to have my desk up like another 3 feet.
You could definitely just get some of those crazy furniture sliders and stick a bunch of them under it so you can just slide across the floor when you need it to.
So on the topic of my rant, I guess this started several weeks back, just making some comments because it's kind of a flashback. Like as soon as I bought Destiny for PC, of course I understand it was already out on console for a little while, but as soon as I buy it, like the week after, they're already like, hey, DLC time, give me your money.
Yeah, that's
So
games. I don't know. I can't say games now because I feel like everyone's getting scared after all the stuff that's happened. But that was certainly games for the past, like, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, maybe longer.
Yeah. Well, not too big of a deal. Like I said, it already been out for whatever, was it like 3 months on console? Or was it that long?
September was consoles. November was PC. Maybe, I think.
Okay, maybe not as long as I thought, but
Like, I guess it was either mid or late September for the release on console, and then it was, I think, early November for PC.
yeah. Well, I went ahead and bought like well, I guess because it was like 2 weeks later, Curse of Osiris was out, and I was like, well, I don't want to miss out on this, so I bought, the season pass, whatever, the 2 DLC package. Of course, get in Curse of Osiris, and it takes me to a new place, but every other mission sends me back to other places I've been, and then going back to the Curse of Osiris mission, it was the same thing, just kind of like, hey, we got some different Vex from the future or the past. And that was it.
That whole expansion was really bad.
Yeah. So we get Warmind, and of course they heard the argument. It was like, Osiris was drawn out, it was all recycled bunch of shit. So Warmind, I guess they took the feedback and said, all right, we're not going to have you run around and let your DLCs an hour. So again, I was like, what the hell? All the stuff that I liked came from the free patch. So immediately I felt like all the people buying the DLC were subsidizing them fixing the game and implementing, quality of life stuff that everybody else said, why the hell isn't it in this game? We got it in Destiny 1. So yeah, that all kind of clashed immediately around the same time. And then, a week later, they announced Forsaken.
That's maybe weeks soon. I don't know. That's probably like a month, maybe. I don't remember. I don't remember how long it was from the launch of Warmind until they officially unveiled like the year or two stuff. So I don't remember if it was at E3 or if they said a little prior to E3 starting.
Well, what I do remember, and this was, I sent a message over to Arrow, like immediately. Like when I got ready to launch, I think I got in on Warmind like a few days later, whatever the weekend, or I couldn't play it immediately. So a few days later, like when I opened Battle.net, it had a pre-order already for Forsaken.
I did it. Sure.
Yep. So before a lot was announced, they already had like, hey, we've got this. You can go ahead and buy it now.
Well, I think that's half because they took the approach of trying to assure as many people as possible that, I guess, stuff was coming. But it's Activision, so you can't be like, here's the stuff that's coming without them being like, hey, but you got to make sure that they can buy it right now. Which I don't know. I haven't pre-ordered it. I mean, if you do like Amazon pre-orders, I think they just like ping you $1 to lock it in, and you don't get charged until it comes out. But yeah, it's possible for Activision that they actually like just charge you the full price right there.
Yeah, I think as soon as Bungie was, attached with Activision, I should have known right then and there. I mean, EA's gotten bad, but used to, it's like I'm getting an EA game, so it's going to be a little less douchey than an Activision game. And I bailed on Call of Duty.
I'm not sure I remember those days. That was a long time ago.
It was. It was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, when I was finally fed up with the yearly release of Call of Duty.
I think maybe Bad Company 2 is the last time I remember EA not being like total garbage.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, I kind of ran it on. I'm trying to actually find the video here. It was Destiny Reset on YouTube, and I actually jumped in and. How far was it? Was it 148?
Play how
You were that guy. You were the.
Yeah,
you were the
I am.
video game nerd.
Yeah, it was This whole thing has ticked me off. I'm essentially going to spend $180 for Destiny 1, which everything seems to be reverting back to that. And then, I go and saying, plus from the last DLC, I realized that I could have received the changes that I liked the most from the free patch that came out alongside the DLC. Um, Aside from PvP, which I absolutely love, I can't understand the hype. Everybody was bitching, and I'm going to get in trouble here, but a bunch of content creators go off, invited by Bungie, just right before the Forsaken stuff gets announced, and everybody comes back and saying shit's going to be awesome. But shit's going to be awesome with, what is it, $40 for Forsaken and $30 for semi-seasonal content. Not semi-seasonal. What I'm saying is it's not like a season pass where we're getting actual DLCs. They've already said
It's definitely still seasonal content. They're just the pay model is you're paying them up front and you're just getting that year of stuff. Instead of selling separate expansion packs, they're basically charging you $30 for the next 3 expansion packs.
okay.
Which I guess, depending on how you look at it, is a better deal. But
Maybe.
everyone's got an opinion on whether or not that's the case. So.
But they did say it wasn't going to be like cutscene, normal kind of campaign stuff that we get from like what we have received with DLCs. They said the story is going to be told during the gameplay. So
Kind of already is for the most part. So that's not that drastic of a change. I think the point of that is so it takes a little less time for them to put out stuff, because I think that adds a decent amount of extra development time when you're actually like creating cutscenes, whether they're like in game or like pre-rendered.
Well, I mean, are you going to spend more money on it? Because I think the money I spent on the DLCs, I did not get, a good bang for my buck.
Well, that's like where the divide is, and I think at this point, what they're doing is just that's for the people who are gonna stay, who are already here. I think what they're doing now is more about keeping the people they have than getting anyone else to come back. I mean, the window for getting people to come back, I think, is just kind of closed. The average person just, I mean, they're not gonna.
Well,
I don't want to say they're not gonna listen, but like, I don't know. Like, you look at the people who just comment on every Destiny-related thing and say that they hate the game now and they got ripped off. Like, you have to wonder why they keep doing that. Like, you either move on or you keep playing it. Those are really your only options.
yeah.
And like, you don't have to play it. Like, no one is forcing you to play it. I mean, it sucks if you feel like you got ripped off, but that's just, that's what happens, I guess. The way I see it, like, if you get your hours out of it, then that's fine. That's good. Like, I paid $60 for vanilla D2, and I played it for like 100 hours, 150. And I mean, I think I got my money's worth. I don't think I was thoroughly happy when Curse of Osiris came out, and they like paywalled everything.
Yeah.
That's why I stopped playing. But 3 months later, I just I missed the game enough to pony up for that expansion. And while the expansion was terrible, I still liked the base game. So that's when I decided to stick around, and it's gotten better.
Yeah.
But I get people not wanting to spend another $70 if they haven't already paid for the season pass. If they haven't bought the season pass, and it's another $100. So I get people not wanting to spend that money at this point. Like, I get that they wanted that content before.
Yeah. I think, which I'll admit, and I will say that the PvP alone, I think, was worth my $60. I just love it. Everything outside of the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way too. A lot of people really just main Crucible, but at the same time, it is a loot game, and they wanted to get more out of the Crucible in that regard.
Yeah,
they weren't getting it. I mean, you go to Shaxx, you get some stuff. Half of it's garbage anyway. That's the other thing. When half the loot is throwaway loot, and you don't really get anything but just regular legendary drops for doing Crucible, like you can't keep those players for very long. Especially not that, I don't know, up until fairly recently. I mean, the Crucible was pretty sparse, except for when like Iron Banner rolled around or something.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't like that. And this is just a personal opinion. I think it works well for getting people engaged in all of the game, but like certain catalysts lock behind certain activities, things like that, to where if
Yeah,
you are a Crucible player, now I've got to go do the Leviathan and pray I get the catalyst for the weapon that I like to use in the Crucible.
yeah, the catalyst thing's a little. I don't. Yeah, like I still don't agree with that. And even as someone who, or maybe it's, I mean, like as someone who really likes faction rallies, I think that was a terrible choice. But at the same time, I love them so much that maybe but it's also a good choice. It's another reason to keep playing. And like I like that you have to. That they give you the option of pledging all that, like giving you a reason to pledge every faction in the and like the catalysts and the ornaments. But it's also like, which I've talked about before, like what did they do for people like me who enjoy the role play aspect of this is my faction, and I'm not pledging it. I'm not pledging a faction every rally. Like this is just my faction. This is the one that I do. Like I did Dead Orbit this time because I couldn't get anything else from Future War Cult, and literally every time I go to turn in tokens, I just run to Future War Cult and then immediately turn around because that's how many times I've done that.
Yeah,
like that's what it is to me.
I'm a Dead Orbit guy. I mean, I don't know the story behind him or anything, but the voice actor Peter Stromay,
Yeah.
I like him.
Like
I've always done it, before I would have my alts, do the other faction rallies or whatever, but
and that's the other thing. Now you can't do that.
No.
Like they were like it's meaningful. They said they wanted to make it meaningful, and their version of meaningful was you can't change. Which isn't. That's not meaning. Like I guess saying here's the stuff you get if you choose this one is meaningful, but at the same time, like half the people who play Destiny are completionist players, and you're really just like, I don't know, giving them that Warframe level grind. I think when you tell them they have to get to level 50 for all three to get all three catalysts, and they're only going to have 3 chances in a season.
Well, this goes back to my whole cash grab thing. The stuff that everybody is praising came out for free, pretty much, except for I like the, Warmind, the activity that the Horde mode thing. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Oh, Escalation Protocol.
Yeah.
I mean, Destiny 2 would be in a better place if the amount of content and like idea implementation that they put in Warmind would have been the first thing that we got expansion wise.
Yeah, it keeps going back. I think they're putting out these crap DLCs that don't take a lot of time into them. We're not getting our bang for the buck for the amount of money we're spending, and it's subsidizing their patching. I understand people have got to get paid each week, and they've got to fix bugs, stuff like that, so they need that income. But you charge me, let's say a third of us buys the $20 DLC that is kind of pointless, and then everybody gets the cool patch, that fixes things. And with Forsaken being $40, okay, the base game is $60, and you can name off all the things I got. Like I've got a multiplayer mode, I've got co-op, I've got raid, in-game raids, I've got a campaign, all this stuff. So if I spend $40 for something, which is what 66% the price of the original game, am I going to get 66% amount of content? No, I know it's going to be no. And
it's hard to say. I think some people are trying to make the case that it is in fact that much content, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. And it's different for me. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind paying $40 for what equates to like a 3-hour campaign and then all the other stuff you get with it, because I don't know. In a game like that, I don't necessarily want to have to do the campaign, and I didn't like the Destiny 2 campaign at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still fighting people on that. Like, they still try to tell me it was a good campaign,
Oh hell no! It
and
was.
I can't get. Anytime they try to explain why they think that, I'm like, that just doesn't sound. That doesn't sound like a good enough reason. Like,
It
I
wasn't
didn't like.
immersive. I don't feel like any of the choices were meaningful. You know, you had like the main characters, the one chick who was being a crybaby. Like, I went to my planet, I
Oh,
lost my light, and all this stuff.
Laura. Well,
Yeah.
it's the problem with that plot line is right at the beginning of the game, you get this big like you get the big spectacle event where she shows up, she floats in and fucking blows up a Cabal ship, and then rides away on another one, blowing it up. And then I don't what half an hour into the campaign, you find out that she's like scared, and she goes to like hide.
Yeah.
And somehow it has to be you, like you're the guy, you're the person that fixes everything. And I get that's the easy way out for making a character like compelling, I guess, or having them relate on some level to like whoever's playing. But like I would rather just play as a person, like a predefined character that does what they do. I just control them. Then they just be like, oh, you're just the person that saves the day. Anybody could have done this, but it was you. Like, it's just that doesn't interest me a whole lot.
Well, when it comes to like writing a story, you gotta like at the end of it, is there growth? What did the characters develop and evolve? And it seems like, okay, she's crying, she lost her powers, but the way I understand the Destiny lore and everything, it's people that made a great sacrifice, that put their life on the line, is what kind of granted them the light. And like she kind
Yeah,
of forgets, like, it takes sacrifice, we have to face our fears, we do all this stuff, and then at the end of it, everybody gets the light back, and it seems like nobody learned a lesson. Zavala is still kind of, we see it in
bad.
Morbind. He's like, I don't want to get
Yeah,
help from anybody. I don't want to do this or that.
he's
And
the
you're
dad.
thinking,
Yeah, he doesn't let you do anything. But then
yeah,
he's like, oh, the world's gonna end if I don't let you. I guess you can do it this time.
yeah. So it doesn't seem like anything was meaningful from the story of it.
I've been pretty let down by the story, the story we're getting, the like the cut and dry story that we get, the face value stuff that you don't have to like really look into. What we've gotten from them in that regard, it's been pretty bad, I think.
Yeah,
uh, I think the universe at large is interesting, and I think there's cool stories that they tell. But like, I liked Warmind in general. I just, I felt like I was getting into the story, and then it just stops. They're like, all right, time to blow up the worm.
yeah. That threw me off too, because I felt like this whole build up, like, when you take the shard, you go down there and you kill off somebody, and like you see what you're fixing to have to fight. I thought there was going to be a bigger lead up, and
Yeah.
or maybe that should have been a raid boss or something.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, I know that a lot of this stuff was just already in development, and by the time they started getting the amount of feedback they did, there just wasn't a ton they could do. I think they did a lot for the amount of time they had to make meaningful changes, but which is why I think a lot of people who are still playing are fairly confident in year two, because they've had a little more time to consider all that stuff.
Yeah,
But at that point, like I said, like you are you're kind of riding on everyone's good graces if it's taking you to year two to make the game something people want to play. But at the same time, you have to look at, like, I don't know, get the way Ubisoft's handled things. Like, pretty much all their games they put out in the last 3 or 4 years have been pretty shitty at launch, and it's taken a year plus for them to kind of bring the game to a place where people really enjoy it. So, like, I guess Bungie deserves the benefit of that doubt.
well,
which is why I'm gonna buy it. So I'll give it a shot. I feel like I played the game so much that like, and I haven't spent money on microtransactions. I'm like, okay, you can save 40 more of my dollars. Like at this point, I think I've gotten my money's worth out of the $100 I guess I put into Destiny so far.
Okay.
I'll give them another 40.
Okay, a couple of points I want to hit because we're running out of time here before we start the actual stream. Uh, the following Destiny Reset podcast, they had a guest. I think it was Lulu.
Oh, not this week's, but last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they kind of brought up, some people upset with Forsaken and everything, and I think it was Lulu was talking about, we don't people don't bitch the same way with other forms of entertainment. Like you go see a movie, you feel like
Yeah.
you got cheated out, which that's not my thing. If I don't like something like the story wasn't what I expected, all that, I'm not going to be mad. But what I think Bungie pulled and a lot of studios are pulling is like what I call the Peter Jackson movie, The Move, where they take The Hobbit, which was really only 2 movies, and he's like, we're going to take the story for what would have been 1 movie and we're going to split it into part 1 and part 2 to get more money. That's
I thought
what
there were
I
3
hate.
of those.
It happened with a lot of movies. You see now it's like we're on the last one, but we're going to break it into part 1 and part 2. So I felt like Destiny in particular, they're like, we had all this stuff we originally going to put in the big game, the release, but how about we just separate all this stuff off and then we'll charge more money for it? That's really what I'm getting down to, and it's not just Bungie, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's just where the industry's gone, because at one point DLC was literally content that people would make when the game was successful enough to warrant additional content. Like they knew enough people would buy it and they knew enough people wanted it, then they would go back
Yeah.
and make stuff. But then of course, bigger companies were like, well, what if we started working on that beforehand? Like I think, I don't remember what game it was, but I feel like there was definitely a game that it came out pretty quickly after it launched. They were like, oh, the DLC, like they already have DLC ready.
Yeah,
And
I
everyone's
almost
like,
want to think it was shit, I can't even think of the name. Gears of War.
yeah, it may have been like it leaked, and that's when people were like, oh wait, are you telling me that DLC has been stuff that's always been like pre-made,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to tell us that it's like extra? And that was a different kind of debate back then. Things have changed a little bit, but then it became. But like, even though people took issue with that, there were so many people who were just like, I don't care, and they bought it. So then, they figured, for the most part, they could definitely just tell you before the game even launches, hey, give us extra money ahead of time and you'll get some more stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's fine and good, I guess. But
Final thing here, of course, for the title, fool me twice. Of course, it goes along with the saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It seems like the same thing that's happened with Destiny 2 happened in Destiny 1. And a friend of mine brought up, was like, well, the Division, all this stuff. I was like, okay. Well, they had a lot of the same trouble. It took them years to get it lined out and everything, and we're going to get the sequel, next year. So I'm wanting to see if they learn from the lessons or if they're going to pull a Destiny 2. Like, yeah, we started development on the second game before we figured out all the shit we did wrong. So I'm curious to see how that plays out for them. So it might not just be Bungie.
well, at very least, you have them actively, like, they're still supporting this game. This game is still getting active updates, and I imagine they'll actually continue to make some stuff for this game after the release of the next one. But they've at least they've incentivized playing this game a little bit and giving you rewards for the next game that you can earn now. which doesn't happen too often. Because even Destiny was just like, hey, we're real glad you played Destiny 1. Here's a little cute cutscene you get if you played Destiny 1. But none of your stuff carries over.
Yeah.
Which was a whole thing, because obviously when they pitched Destiny initially, it was supposed to be, maybe MMO is a strong word, but it was supposed to be like a persistent experience, kind of like a Mass Effect sort of thing, I guess, where if you started in the first one, you're just gonna you're gonna keep carrying through them, which would have been way more interesting than doing what they're probably going to continue to do with the franchise, unless someone else gets a hold of it and does something different, where they're just going to like reset it with each like numerical entry.
All right. On that note, we're going to take a quick, say, about 10-minute break here, and we'll be back with some music and the Division. So back at 7:45, everybody.